Alright guys, this is the second video to 6.2 writing quadratic equations. In this video I'll be going over how to write the equation given the axis of symmetry and 2 points. The next 2 slides are going to have the steps. I won't be discussing them in the video, so just make sure that you write them down and have them ready to follow through in the examples. If you don't write them down, you're not going to know what's happening. So just make sure that that's something that you do. Alright guys, so here is our given information. We're going to write the equation or the function of a parabola with axis of symmetry x equals -2, passing through the point -1 and 2 and the other point 4 and 11. So just real quick to give you a visual of what's going on. We've got some parabola. We don't know what it looks like. Okay, we know that the axis of symmetry comes right here through x equals -2 and that it passes through the point -1, 2 and -4, 11, so way up here. Okay, so we have these points. We don't know what the vertex is, so we don't know, our vertex could be somewhere way down here or way up here, so we're not too sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug these values into vertex form, create a system of equations, and then solve them using substitution or elimination. As of right now, when I am writing this video, I do not have any videos on substitution, elimination, or systems of equations, but you can Google them, YouTube them, and there are a plethora of videos out there. So if you need to, go ahead and get refreshed on that. In this example, I'm going to solve using elimination. And in the next one, I'll solve using substitution so you can see how it works. Okay, so I hope you wrote down notes on the steps because I'm going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I'm going to set up my 2 equations. We'll do the first one in red. So it was y1 is equal to a times x1 minus h quantity squared plus k. So I'm going to plug in my values here. So y1 is 2. We don't know a. Our x1 is -1. Okay, minus our h is -2. Be careful with these double negatives here, guys. Quantity squared plus k, which we don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and simplify our values here within this parentheses. So we have 2 is equal to a. This double negative turns into a positive, so we have -1 plus 2 is 1 squared plus k. 1 squared is just 1 plus k. Normally you're going to move this number over here to the front, but since it's just a 1, you don't have to. I'm going to write it just so you know what's going on. Okay, so this is the first equation in our systems that we're going to use. Our second equation comes from our second points, okay, where we have y2 is equal to a times x2 minus h squared plus k. Fill in your values. Y2 is 11. We don't know a. X2 is -4 minus h, which is -2. Quantity squared plus k. Again, we're just going to simplify this in here. 11 is equal to a times -4 minus -2. That turns into a positive there. So -4 plus 2 is -2 quantity squared plus k. -2 squared is +4. Be careful with that. Okay, and then to make it pretty, we just move that 4 to the front. And there we go. We have our system of equations. All right. Now, in order to solve a system, you're going to need to line up your equations. So I'm just going to rewrite them over here on the right. So we have 2 is equal to a plus k, and 11 is equal to 4a plus k. Now remember, when you solve using elimination, you first need to choose a variable to eliminate. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a. Now the rules for elimination is that they have to have opposite signs, so one positive, one negative, and the same coefficient, which means they both have to have the same number in front. So you can see here that a has a coefficient of +1 on the first one and +4 on the blue one. So in order to change it so that they're the same, I'm going to multiply this top one by -4. I'm going to go ahead and distribute that here, here, and here. So my new equation, -4 times 2 is -8, is equal to -4a minus 4k. Okay, so now you can see here with your a's that they do have the same coefficient, opposite signs. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and combine these two equations. Just add them straight down. So 11 minus 8 is 3. 4a minus 4a cancels out. And then you have +1k minus 4k gives you -3k. Now you can solve this equation for k. You only have one variable. So divide both sides by -3. K is equal to -1. And we're almost done at this point. I'm going to write down my knowns over here in the top. We know that h is equal to -2 from the axis of symmetry that's given. We know k is equal to -1, and now we just need our a. So in order to solve for a, you pick one of your two equations. It doesn't matter which one, and you're going to plug in your value for k, and then you're going to solve for a. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this first equation. 2 is equal to 1a plus k. So I'm going to plug in my value for k, which is -1. So we just have 2 is equal to a minus 1. To solve for a, we add 1 to each side. A is equal to 3. So now that we found all of the information we need to write the equation in vertex form, we're just going to plug in our values. A is equal to 3, x minus h, which is -2, quantity squared, plus k. So now I'm going to fix our signs because we've got too much going on here. This double negative here inside the parentheses turns into a +2. You can't have opposite signs here, so it's just -1. Okay, f of x is equal to, and there we go. We have our equation or function for the quadratic function in vertex form. So if we go back to our little graph that I sketched for you earlier, we now know that our vertex is at -2, -1. So our vertex is right here. So if we wanted to, we could sketch our graph. You know, it looks something like that. All right. I have one more example. So go ahead and watch it so you can see elimination if you need the practice. So here, same thing, through 2 points in the axis of symmetry. Remember, this is your h right there. I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to go ahead and set up my equations. Okay, so you have for the first one, y1 is equal to a, x1 minus h, quantity squared, plus k. So plug in your values. 9 is equal to a times 1 minus 3, quantity squared, plus k. Simplify that. 9 is equal to a times 1 minus 3 is -2, quantity squared, plus k. Keep going. -2 squared is 4. And then we rewrite it to make it pretty. 4a plus k. Okay, so that's our first equation. So then we do our second one. y2 is equal to a times x2 minus h squared plus k. Plug in our values. X2 is 4 minus h is 3. No double negatives that we have to worry about. 3 is equal to a times 4 minus 3 is 1 squared. 1 squared is 1. Write it pretty. Move that 1 to the front, doesn't really make a difference. Right? And here are our two equations that we have. So our next step is to line them up. Okay, 9 is equal to 4a plus k. 3 is equal to a plus k. And you can do substitution or elimination. In this example, I'm going to do substitution. So in order to do substitution, you need to solve one of these two, it doesn't matter which one, for a variable. I'm actually going to take this second equation here and I'm going to solve for a. So I have 3 is equal to a plus k. I'm just rewriting it. In order to solve for k, I'm going to subtract it, or solve for a, excuse me, I'm going to subtract that k. Yes, it's a variable, it's not a big deal. Okay, so now I have this. 3 minus k is equal to a. What I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this entire thing in for a right there. Okay, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 9 is equal to 4 times a plus k. So all I'm going to do is plug in 9 is equal to 4. I know a is equal to 3 minus k, and bring down my k. So now I'm just going to solve this equation. Distribute that. 4, 9 is equal to 12 minus 4k plus k. Combine these k's over here, they're like terms. 9 is equal to 12. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3k. Subtract that 9 on each side. Sorry, this is a 12. 12 minus 3k, so subtract the 12. 9 minus 12 is negative 3 is equal to negative 3k. Divide by negative 3 on each side. K is equal to positive 1. Okay, so if we write down what we know h is equal to 3, that's given. We know k is equal to 1, we just solved for it, and now we need to solve for a. So in order to solve for a, we need to plug this k equals 1 back into one of the original equations. I happen to have this one here. It's already solved for a, so you can just plug it in. So we have 3 minus k is equal to a. 3 minus 1 is equal to a. 3 minus 1 is 2 is equal to a. So we have found our last value. Okay, and then you just need to plug them into the equation. F of x is equal to a x minus h squared plus k. And there you go. That's it. That is your equation written in vertex form. That's it for the examples. If you have any questions, let me know. Practice your substitution and elimination if you need to. Shoot me an email or a remind if you have questions. Otherwise, you can ask me tomorrow in class.